was discovering this whole world of luxury fashion and luxury goods, and just seeing this very different world, which was exciting to me. It was in New York. I was in this glamorous office after the marketing part of it and the image that was sold to people, and the discussion with magazines and the beauty standards and the belonging and the if you have to have this in order to. The demands were crazy. What you were given to work with was almost nothing. Very outdated system, very outdated. So it just didn't make sense. And that's what I realized when I worked in fashion. I'm like, whoa, like, was I sold a lie? Because I saw it when I will be working in luxury fashion, or having this access to, this type of life, living in New York, having, going to cool places, having friends. I'm like, I'm going to be good. Energy was something I was connected to. Mysticism, as you mentioned, village healers. I was just, I don't know, curiosity, and it was something there. I also loved the near-death experiences, and listen about the people who would go and come back, and the light that they saw, and they would describe, like, let's look at channeling just like simple terms. What is it? And I think the example that I love is like thinking about radio. If, we have channels on the radio, and it's a different frequency. So you turn the radio to a certain frequency, I don't know, 99.5, and it's all channelers. We all channel, and we actually do it all the time. Like, make a million, live in this place, wear this clothes, and most of the world is like going there, and it's the same dream for all of us. You are so loved. You are loved beyond measures.
Welcome to the second part of this two-part series, where we dive into the fascinating world of Margaryta. In today's episode, we dive into how Margaryta's life navigates to the glittering halls of Fendi and other top fashion houses, only to discover that her dream job felt soulless, and she had her own spiritual awakening and dived into the world of quantum healing and trance channeling. And stay tuned till the end for an exclusive live channeling from Margaryta. Enjoy. Margaryta, welcome to Thrive Talks again with part two, jumping all into the magic of fashion and spirituality. But guys, this is part two of the two series that we've interviewed with her. Part one is Margaryta 101 and all about the Ukraine war. So if you haven't watched it, go ahead, watch it. It's linked and pinned. But now, my dear, let's talk about you landing into US, waitressing, doing all of it to actually fund yourself to get into the Fashion Institute, right? And you landed up a job in Fendi. What happened?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah. So what happened? It was incredible. It was such a opening another world for me. I feel every certain part of my life, there's like expansion. So as I went through Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, I had internship with Fendi, and I actually didn't know much about Fendi. I knew about Louis Vuitton, Gucci, a few other big brands. And then I was like, oh, there's internship for Fendi. And I look, it's like Italian luxury fashion house. Looks amazing. So I interned with them, and oh my God, I fell in love with the company, with the people, with the product. So when I was hired, it was incredible. Well, when I was hired, it was a very entry-level position. I was like, give me a job, I will do anything. I interned in logistics, which is, all things have to move products from point A to point B. Didn't really like it. But then I also, when they hired me, so I was part-time logistics, part-time merchandising. And merchandising or buying is when you go to see a collection for this particular brand like Fendi, and the buyers would go to Italy, be it Milan or Rome, see the collection, make their choices for the store. So it would be internal buyer. So there's could be a buyer, for example, I don't know, department stores, Bloomingdale's or
Mm,
Saks, and I'm telling the US because I know those, but there's
mm,
others in the world. So they would go to different brands and they would buy, okay, certain, they will create collections, smaller one within the collections of different brands, and there will be assortment of a floor, let's say on Saks Fifth Avenue. Um, for internal buyers, like the one that were at Fendi, that I was assistant to, you actually go to the Caesar collection, but you buy it for the internal store. So we had maybe around 50 Fendi stores, and the buyer that I worked for, they were covering US, Canada, and Mexico. So I think approximately 50
mm.
stores. Um, yeah, so I was like, wow, that's a job. Like you see the collections and then you get to choose. I didn't know those jobs existed, to be honest. Um, I'm sure there was studies in the fashion school, but I was studying international trade and marketing, so I didn't really knew because there's you can study to be a merchandiser. So yeah, I was there and I was discovering this whole world of luxury fashion and luxury goods and just seeing this very different world, which was exciting to me. It was in New York. I was in this glamorous office after, working in very different restaurants, bars, pubs, and actually my last restaurant was really nice. I was working upscale Japanese restaurants. So I always had, to be honest, I always had this desire for like luxury and quality. So when I worked with the restaurants, was I able to do it with better English, better skills? Because my first restaurant jobs, I would like spill things on people. So, you don't want to work on in the most upscale place. But then after, I got better. So yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go back to the fashion and Fendi world. So yeah, it was like this office, people wearing beautiful clothes. You go to the stores, like you feel important, you feel like you're part of an important mission. And it was amazing. I was actually there for 4 to 5 years, from intern to assistant to buyers to then actually became a buyer. So I got to travel, and I didn't travel much. So my first time from Ukraine was to the United States. And then in the United States, I didn't really, had finances to actually travel and explore the world. So with my job, it took me across US and then also to Italy to go for the buying campaigns. And I would do like a day here, a day there, maybe a day in Paris right before. So it was like, wow. And, company expenses too. When I'm in Rome or in Milan, for buying campaigns, your company pays for a nice hotel. And I was like staying in these hotels. I'm like, whoa, never had access to that. It was amazing. It was really helping me to expand and to code myself. And for example, my job after that, I worked at Calvin Klein for their runway connection collection that would fly us business class to Paris. I was like, business class? This is amazing. I never flew in my life business. I didn't like, that was for rich people, I don't know what that is. So, in short, my fashion career was incredibly expensive for me. And I was coming into more becoming mature woman, getting skills, like I was getting good at something. I was really good at buying. It was very intuitive for me. I would be like scanning, and now I know what I was doing. At that time, I had no idea. I would scan the collection, and I would be like, this, put it together, and it works financially too, because I had the budget. As a buyer, you kind of run your business within the business. So I was working with one as a assistant buyer to lady for ready to wear. So it was like huge business. And then I got my own business, which was shoes. So I would buy shoe collections for all the Fendi stores in the US, Canada, Mexico, and then we added Brazil. So, and then I would travel around US, go to Miami, go to Las Vegas, LA, do store trainings on the collection, explain, why did I buy what I buy, what the strategy, meet the VIP clients. It was, it was fun for a while.
You're literally showcasing a lot of girls' dream, that
Mhm.
luxury brand, flying business class. Because let's be very honest, most of the people And thanks to social media now, everyone wants this kind of like glamour,
Mm,
thinking that this is all there is to life, right? Like, and it's not right
yeah.
and wrong. You're just like, oh my God, I didn't even know. You just taught me that when I entered Saks Fifth Avenue and that collection was literally bought by someone and put on there, like you literally showed me what goes behind a fashion
Mm,
house,
yeah.
literally showcasing stuff. But having said all of this, right, your career looked so glamorous from the outside.
Yeah.
But like I always say, there's always a flip side, and that's what you described it. You described it as soulless.
Mm,
And you're not the first person to actually describe this, may it be movies or fashion. There's always a dark side to it, per se, because it's intense. Is there any specific incident you think where you
mm,
felt like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore? When was the tipping point for you? Because you were
mm,
just living the rich life in terms of everything, right? For most of us who view
yeah.
it. But what
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah. I don't think there was one moment where I'm like, this is it. In terms of fashion career, it was built up, just what you observe through the years. While it was exciting, there was also incredible drive by numbers, like numbers, 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 delivered growth consistently. You need to grow your business at any cost. Like you need to grow. Otherwise, why we're paying you and why you're here, and the company needs to grow. Like that's yeah, the priorities. And people I've seen, because also so many people do want to work in fashion, seen as like the workers, like the people who work in the office, as disposable. Like, okay, you don't like this, you don't want to work here, fine. There's 20 other people that want your job. So, if you don't want to, kind of go. So that creates a little bit, you don't really feel valued. You feel a lot demanded of you. For example, I will be working Monday through Friday, morning to evening, very late sometimes, weekends. Like you kind of give your life to your job, which I know it's not only the fashion, but it's this feeling of, whoa, like it's fun for now. Like I'm happy to travel a lot, but I'm like, if I think about my future and I would look at my boss, I'm like, do I want her life? I'm not really. The amount of stress, the amount of tension that comes, it can be very catty as well. It can be
Mm,
really, cutthroat. To be honest, at Fendi, it was incredible. The people that I work with were amazing. Like, wow, I made so many connections. But then when I did leave Fendi, I joined a few other brands, and my last one, I will not say the name,
it's
was
fine.
incredibly cutthroat, incredibly, wow, toxic. People were like, putting each other in trouble, like telling on each other, like just was like, what is, like, how sometimes they show you in movies, kind of like that. I was like, what is it? The demands were crazy. What you were given to work with was almost like nothing, very outdated system, very outdated. So it just didn't make sense. Like really, really didn't make sense. And what the other part is, it was, a lot of it is wasteful. As we know, fashion can be incredibly wasteful, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel really well in my soul. I'm like, wow, this is just a lot. From personally, I'm like, I just don't love how I'm treated. And I really wanted to be part of a something meaningful, like something that I contribute to goodness, and me selling very expensive purses, or which was fun for a while. I'm like, I don't know, like I don't want to do this for my whole life. And no judgment
Mm,
to people who, that's their career. It's also fun, it's great, but for me, yeah, so I wanted to join a brand that may be more sustainable, more soulful, like Stella McCartney, or somebody who is more conscious. I wasn't successful, so I didn't get a job, which I know why, right? Because I had to take completely different path. So I
Hmm.
had to have a really tough experience to be like, actually, no, this is not my path. This feels like exhausting. Honestly, it was exhausting.
You saw the side of like just working like a slave, literally confined, and just not thinking about your well-being, anything. And that's what I hear from a lot of people as well, like the ones, especially like the models, face another thing in terms of molestation and like
Yeah.
objectified. They're just taken as objects and instruments, and you just need to do as you're
Yeah.
told, and you're not
Yeah.
valued as a person, like how you said. So it's not
No.
like the models face anything. It's you guys even behind the shop that
Yeah.
faced all of it in terms of not being valued. And I think as much as it looks great, it is so competitive, and it's like a rat race where you
Yeah.
can just be replaced this like
Like
this.
that. Yeah. And it's
Wow.
also shown in the attitude attitude towards you while you work, right? It's like no one cares, really. It's like give you the basics, be good with that. And yeah,
Mm.
and I think we would joke with many of my colleagues, like we can't afford pretty much most of the things, if not all the things of like, the tiny little, wallets or anything in, and it's like, it just does not make sense. It just does not make sense. Yeah.
I know. It's like, oh, I'm paying $600 for a wallet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I need, and that goes in my credit card. That becomes a debt. I mean, so many of them get into this vicious loop of
Oh my God.
fashion
Yeah.
addiction. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, you touch on another aspect in terms of the marketing part of it and the image that was sold to people and with fashion, with magazines and the beauty standards and the belonging and if you have to have this in order to be accepted or feel value or whatever. It also feels a little bit like you. Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it was really for me. It was just no, and it's part of it was the system, the corporate structure, the fashion world, and part of it was my timing. Like it was also I knew that it was time for me to change, but it was scary. It was really I was like, well, that's all I know, and I've trained for this. I'm good at this. Like it's so scary. I was like, oh, one day I'll do that other thing. One day.
One day,
It was
one day.
like, no, my soul is like now, and that's why you're gonna go through all this stuff. In terms of my last job, that was really intense and just
Toxic.
toxic environment. And I was like, so then you can make a different decision and not, be in your comfort zone.
And that's what people don't realize, right? Like you left behind the security of
Mm,
a lavish corporate career to pursue your true calling, which
yeah.
requires immense courage, right? And it brings up a lot of fear. So when you actually resigned, what was the fear that just came up now?
Wow. Even before I resigned, the fear was there. Um, yeah, the fear was a lot about money, to be honest. Like, how am I
Mm.
gonna, we didn't touch here, but I was actually let go of one of my jobs, so at Calvin Klein, at Joe Dispenza retreat, which was like, on second day, I'm receiving, it's a whole other story, all this like information and messages from HR that the whole department's being laid off, including myself. And I couldn't find a job for a year. For a year. With my experience, I would get to like last round of interviews and they're like, no, you are too experienced for us. Like, and a lot of time would be like the money, they didn't want to pay what I was asking for, or there was other person who would better fit in, etc. So it's really for a year. So I created quite a bit of debt for myself. Money and me have had a romance since childhood. So like, yeah. So when I got this job, that was my last one at this company that was really not the best for my health and well-being and emotional states. When I was resigning, I was like, whoa, that fear about I don't want to go in debt again. How am I going to be able to make money? Was a big one for me. I'm like, what else am I good at? Like, I know this. I know I'm good at it. I've done it. Like, I don't know, like questioning myself and questioning I'll be able to succeed in that. What felt right, but I've never done it, I don't know. It felt really different. And yeah. And I think another big piece for me, which wasn't fear, but identity. I invested so much unconsciously, I didn't even know, but how much I identified with being a buyer for a luxury company. I only wanted to work with luxury. I'm like, I don't want to work. It's not luxury company. I only want to look at luxury now. Or, some like what I considered in my mind at that time, like great company. So I was like, oh, I want Montclair, I want Gucci. And there's not too many of them. So I was like, yeah, when I was looking for jobs, there's also I limited myself what I could apply for. So for me, that identity, I work for a luxury company, was giving me a sense of validation. And, when I would meet people anywhere and I would say, they were like, oh, what do you do? The typical question, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a buyer for, let's say, Fendi. And like, oh, that's amazing. Wow, tell us more. And that would be like, oh, that's amazing. I'm like, means I'm amazing. So I think the identity with the company, and I know many people go through it in their own way when they leave corporate and like, well, who am I now when I'm not part of this? Or maybe other
Mhm.
places, maybe a football player or whoever, when we invest our life and our sense of security is not very in ourselves strongly established, we look at outside, we look at like validation. So for me, that enmeshment was very painful to untangle and be like, well, I'm valuable and I'm great just the way I am. I don't need a certain company to validate me. Yeah, so that was quite a journey.
Wow. And that's such a huge point, right? We just start identifying ourselves with that. That stripping that away is just like, no, I can't do it. I've lived on my, like, majority of my independent life like this way. And now anything lesser than that is just less of me. We start
Exactly,
identifying
exactly.
so
Yeah.
deeply. And that is like a bombshell of a nugget that you just gave that, so many people watching right now would be thinking, damn, yeah, for me, it was always like that as well. Like, I don't even look at the Gucci
Mm,
bags I have right now, but I had it because that identified as, oh, yeah, see, I'm Kanika.
yeah,
That's so mean.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But having said that, um, moving from fashion, now being a spiritual seeker and a learner, right? And a teacher. So let's now bring Margarita in her true calling. You've always
Mm.
had an inclination towards energy, attracted to mystical things. Right from your childhood with the village shamans, etc. And now, literally, your current work, which is all about quantum healing, trance channeling, coaching, emotion code coaching. Like, I know there's a part of you that learned all of it while you were in your fashion career, but now about your current work, like, how has this influenced your life and how did it go about?
Yeah. Can you expand, like, how did it influence
So,
my life in this moment or
yeah,
as the
yeah.
journey?
How did it start? And I also want you to
Mm.
like actually tell people like what
Yeah.
exactly is quantum healing or trance
Yeah.
channeling, because a lot of people think like it's just energy work, but no, it's so much more to it.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I love this. Oh, this I can talk a lot on this. But you mentioned it, the truth is, looking back, it's fascinating. I invite everyone who is listening to this, look back at your life and see the magic, how you've been guided to always, all the time, to where exactly you need to be. And all the puzzle pieces were there. So for me, energy was something I was connected to, mysticism, as you mentioned, village healers. I was just, I don't know, curiosity. And it was something, ooh, something there. Like, I love it. I want to know more. I also love the near death experiences. Listen about the people who would go and come back, and the light that they saw, and they would describe, like, wherever we could, like, on TV, there were some people in the village who experienced. So it was like, I don't. From really early on, I was so drawn to it. And then through my college year, actually, in college in Ukraine, I was stumbled upon incredible books by Castaneda that changed my life. Like, wow, they were the initiation, I think, to open up. So, and then through fashion career, I kept growing, and just because it was my passion, not for anything, it was my curiosity, it was my excitement. No one knew about it. Like, it was my secret, it was my happy place. I would maybe
Mm,
tell few people about certain things that I was doing, but I was like, but it was like, this is mine, this is, my happy place. And then when I was closer to the end of my career in fashion, and I was called to, like, it's time for you to take this seriously and actually bring it to the world, I resisted and I didn't want to. And I felt like I'm not ready. I I want to do the good, didn't feel safe. I'm like, I want to do the corporate career for, like, till I'm 50, and then I'll go into energy, and then I'll do the thing that I do. So, but then life happens, and you're like, my soul's like, no, now, now, now. And it wasn't answering those soul nudges and soul calls and taking the action, right, on those things that didn't make sense. So it's incredible to be here doing what I do now and talking to you about it. It's like a dream come
mm,
true for me. Truly, it's beyond, because I know now that this is why my soul even came here. I know this is why I had those early childhood experiences of so much trauma in a very short period of time. Because then, in a very short period of time, I've been alchemizing it so that I can be a pure channel to do what I'm meant to do now. And I love what you asked, because I would love to go and explain and demystify and maybe provide a little
that-
bit of explanation to what is quantum healing and what is channeling.
mm,
And I think before we even go into there, what is quantum, right? Because I think we are like, oh, we hear this quantum, and now I see all the things about, quantum clinic, quantum meditation, quantum this, and that's great. But I think some of us just like now numb, kind of like, okay, quantum, and not really understanding what it is. But in essence, quantum is this invisible field of energy that exists beyond space and time, right? So for me, it's like underlying fabric of reality, and everything that we experience in our physical reality is actually comes from energy first. And there's this geometrical patterns of a pattern that actually create this physical world. It's actually not physical, it's all energy. So, as you know, if anyone follows Dr. Joe Dispenza, many other people, like, that's his work, that he really teaches and shows it in a way where it's accessible to us. So we're like, oh, I can digest it, I understand what quantum is. And also, not for those who maybe experimented with the plant medicines, ayahuasca, like, that opens your third eye, and you have access to beyond physical reality, and you see that actually the fabric of reality is energy. It's like everything is just waves and geometric patterns and light and sound. That is what creates this experience of physical reality, right? And then when we look at us as the being, many think that we are physical, right? But now we know that we are so much more. We are this intricate, beautiful system of physical body, emotional body, mental body, energy body, spiritual light body. It's like beautiful orchestration, effortlessly, just wow. And within us, we also have codes, templates, this geometric pattern that create who we are, that the architecture that then, you know, depending on what we have within our field, that dictates, you can call it like your frequency, right? Because then that creates your like the thought that you think, the codes that you have within, the beliefs, like it all creates your frequency, and then what creates your reality. So at a quantum healer on a quantum level, what I do is I see people on that level. I don't see, let's say, we work together, you as Kanika, this physical body. I see this you multidimensional, magical, eternal energy being, and I'm able to, with the intention, right? It's like an architect. One of my mentors gives this example of like you like an architect. So you go in and there's certain code that you're complete with, and we, harmonize them, we clear, and then certain code that your soul wants to download into you, And I facilitate space where I'm able to, as a channel, to channel your soul and channel via light language and other means, your soul and your own soul frequency that wants to embody more of you. And what I also love to say, even though we call it a healing, we're really not healing. It's more of a clearing templates and things and programs. I think people understand what program is, right? Like program of I'm not enough. We clearing that on the energetic architecture. So it's so much more than just like changing, I'm enough and thinking. It's like literally we're reworking your field. So yeah, that's in a simple
Yeah,
way
yeah.
to explain what
It's
quantum healing
amazing.
is.
It's amazing. And is it safe to say, for like in like literal simple English, is like people need to understand that there are things beyond what our
Mm,
eyes see.
absolutely.
There are things, in a nutshell, that your aura, the space that you see in MRI scans of yours as well, guys. You first that light, and then you condense into this physical body, and all your thoughts, all your beliefs, everything keep on shaping how your reality is. So if you're going to
Exactly.
have negative, sad, angry thoughts, you are going to be an angry person eventually, and you
Yeah.
are going to see more anger in your world. Is it?
Yeah, in a simple way, exactly. That's what it is. Another simple way for it to look at it is unconscious, subconscious, unconscious. Like this is where we work. Because that's like if there's often shown iceberg image, like conscious, unconscious. So, when we conscious, it's like this, unconscious, this is our energy field. This is all those beliefs, program patterns, and this is where we work in the quantum healing space. So yeah, that's another way to really look at it, just working with your unconscious, subconscious.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
how did trance channeling come about? And what is trance channeling? Margarita,
Yeah.
because a lot of people have this very weird belief that, oh, if you're channeling, or you might be, something very like spooky, or you're not like human. And I'm just like, no. And you
No.
touched upon this when we were talking in private, that everyone can
Yeah.
channel. I want to hear that.
Yeah, let's focus on channeling. I love it. It's
Yeah.
been my passion past 3 years, basically almost since I left my corporate. They like came
Mm,
through. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I love it. Yeah, I would love to speak about it, because I think it's also important, as you said, demystify. And we see more and more channelers online, which is great. Yet it's important to also understand what is it. So again, in a simple way, it's consciously shifting the frequency and the mind state to access the expanded state of consciousness, so we can connect more to source, to all, right? We're just expanding our consciousness. So for example, for me at the channel, I'm able to go into states where I am able to access like my higher self, my soul. I can access my spirit guides and communicate with them.
mm,
But let's look at channeling through just like simple terms. What is it?
mm,
And I think the example that I love is like thinking about radio. If we have channels on the radio and it's a different frequency, so you turn you turn the radio to a certain frequency, I don't know, 99.5, and it's a rock station, and then you turn it to different frequency, and it's, I don't know, country music, and then news, and you keep turning. So it's like different frequency, you access channel, different information. Work the same for us. And yes, I love that you mentioned it. We all channelers, we all channel, and we actually do it all the time. We just don't know it. Like we channel all the time. Right now, this conversation is channeled, right? It's not written. We're not like, okay, I'm going to say, it's not coming from the mind. It's just like you ask a question. I love, myself, my higher self, to share the answer. And I think to expand on that, how do we channel all the time? And I'm going to prove it to you, right? Sometimes you wake up and you just feel amazing and you have a great day and you like smile on your, I don't know, on your face, and you have your favorite coffee or tea and you just go about your day and you're connecting to your higher aspect of you and you channel that. And then I don't know, something happens, you see someone looks in you different way, and you already have this code of I'm not enough. And you're like, oh, they looked at me this way. And you change your frequency because of the code that within you. And you start connecting to your, let's say, inner child. That would be for me, like right in the past, who felt not enough and getting all shy, and your mood changes, and you're like, what happened? You are the same you. You just connected to different aspects, frequencies, versions of you, and you channel your wounded inner child, or you channel your higher aspect. So that's another way. So we continuously channeling. Another way to look is channeling. As you know, when we have conversations, like we talk to someone asks you a question, and you just like share this profound wisdom. You're like, I have no idea what came through, but I feel, wow, that came through me. Like, this is amazing. So you access a certain information and you channel that, most likely from your higher self, or art or books, like all of that ideas, right? When the flow state, it's a channeling state. So we all channel, and we all channel all the time.
There you go, guys. Stop putting people on pedestals.
Mm.
That I
Yeah.
think this is so important to hear, because suddenly we start feeling that, oh, this person can do this, they're more special than me, and we put them
Yeah.
on this pedestal and don't even realize that we also have talents that we can tap into. And this is
Yeah.
exactly what you just said. You just channel the right kind of things, and maybe some person might be great at something, but you're also great at something else. And
Yeah.
wow. This
Yeah. And it's an art, right? It's an art. And if you
mm,
devote as anything in your life, as anything, if you devote your time and your energy and yeah, to learn it, to understand it, how do I channel my higher self, my heart?
mm,
You start doing it. For example, right, when we look, like, it's truly very important in general not to put anyone on pedestal. Anyone, like, there's no one better than you, there's no one less than you. Everyone is beautiful and unique in their own way. We are all unique, beautiful beings, but sometimes we, still looking, like, still disconnected from our truth. So we feel, we see something and we feel that it's like, oh, they are better, but focus on our own self and exploring what is inside of me that I am to create here my own uniqueness. Yeah, and the channel is truly an art. So for me, it's been devotion for the past 2.5 years, full on. Where first it was for me to connect with my own heart, with my own higher self, with my own spirit guides, because that was exciting to me. Not because someone told me. It's just like, that excitement that you get, and just follow it. And then the more I was doing, the more I was opening up that that's my purpose, that's part of my mission, to channel um, healing session, to channel beings of light that support in my work, to channel certain information. But it's not, unique to me. And if that's something that calls someone, that means there's a seed of desire. There's like, they can do it too, because if that calls you, that means you are coded for that as well. Yeah. Or we can channel most beautiful art or most beautiful cooking. And it doesn't have to be channel, beings or anything like that. Yeah, with certain information.
wow. When they say unleash your power, this is how you do it. And this is
Mm.
brilliant. The analogy is brilliant. You don't need to channel your higher beings. I mean, channeling higher beings would be through even art or cooking, or even being the best homemaker, attending to your children. Like,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
it has
Yeah.
to be anything, but it could be everything.
It could be everything. Yeah. I
Wow.
think that's huge. Yeah. To not put especially other beings on the pedestal. People who channel and other beings, because I do see it, and I used to do it myself. I speak about it because, I went through it.
And I think I need a whole another episode to actually, and I know people would be pretty much excited. And if you are, drop it in the comments below as to your mystical experiences. But keeping aware of the time, I have a couple of things that I really want to ask you. And those are, those things that hit home.
Hmm.
You know, you've been had a pressure cooker of your childhood from being bullied in school. father being an alcoholic, so much of conflict, and then walking the halls of Fendi. What was the moment, Margarita, you realized you weren't that scared village girl anymore?
Yeah. I think when I was still in the halls of Fendi, I was still that little scared girl. I
Wow.
didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I deserved it. I always felt I'll be the first one to, if something like, if I do something wrong, I'll be fired. I also think it's immigrant mentality as well. You really, um, like, yeah, scared. You don't feel like you fully belong or deserve to be there. So
Yeah.
I don't think at that point I realized it, that, I'm no longer the little girl. It was actually very recently, in the past few years, as I left the fashion world and I dove deeper into, wow, my own healing, even though, I was on this journey for years, of exploration of all the different
Mm,
concepts of spirituality. The deep healing happened after I left corporate for about a year. It was pretty much my own healing. Even though I was studying to, training, it was actually a lot for me, if not all for me. And when I started to reconnecting with my inner girl and all those experiences that were very painful, when I was beaten up. And I remember when that happened, and the next day I was so ashamed and I couldn't tell my parents. But my arm wouldn't move. Like, I wasn't able to move my arm. But I imagine my relationship with my parents, right? I was not able to tell them, and I had to clean the house. My mom asked me to clean the house. I would clean the house with one hand because I was, I was ashamed. I wasn't able to tell my parents that happened. I didn't trust them. I didn't like, I felt so ashamed. So I had my best friend. And then after I cleaned the house, with the end of the day, I went to her house. I was so just devastated that happened to, that happened to me,
mm,
but it did happen to me, if we look at that way, right? And she took me to the hospital and we checked my arm and they straightened it. It was not broken, but there was something that happened when I fell, that, so yeah, like being with those moments, I think there were so many things that I didn't feel growing up, and they were just like shoop, shoop. And then I came to the United States and I didn't have time to feel. I had to work, work first to figure out the first few years. And then the corporate career started again. Work, work, work. There's no time to be with the feelings, be with the, when I went to retreats and I did the things and it's all good. But I'll say, speak for myself, until I actually took lots of time that was needed for me to be with it, to work with a healer like full time. I worked with this incredible woman for almost a year, and she was holding space for me to cry, to share it, to process. After that, I started to feel, well, I'm no longer the scared little girl. She sometimes show up here and there, but now I am a woman. I am a goddess. I am a queen. Like, I was reclaiming this sovereignty and wholeness and enoughness, right? And just like, I'm awesome the way I am. I'm not flawed. I'm not, nothing wrong with me. Yeah, there were a lot of things that were shifting, but yeah, it was not till very recent.
wow. That is so honest because people don't realize they want a quick fix for everything. But in a spiritual journey, you need so much time, so much patience, so much objectivity and discernment. And I say it from my experience also, that when you give yourself that time, knowing that it's not a race, but it's a marathon, that you're working on yourself, so much of beauty comes out. And hats off
Yeah.
to you, Margarita, for being so
Mm.
honest that it's now that you actually really became one with that scared little girl, because man, it was really tough, right? Literally, you've gone from extreme poverty to luxury fashion to spiritual coaching, right?
Yeah.
And I want to ask you this: what's the biggest misconception people have about living the dream?
And just to clarify, maybe by living the dream, you mean the success that the
That's it. The
world
rich
paints to
life.
us.
The
The
rich
rich
life.
life. Yeah. What the misconception? Well, one, that it's the same for all of us, right? It's like this one picture
That's it.
and everyone is sold it. It's like, live in this place, have this amount of money. Usually it's about 1 million. Maybe soon it's gonna be like have become a billionaire. I don't know. But it's like make 1 million, live in this place, wear this clothes. And most of the world is like going there. And it's the same dream for all of us. Well, we all unique and we all have our own amazing dreams. And that's what I realized when I worked in fashion. I'm like, wow, like was I sold a lie? Because I saw it when I will be working in luxury fashion, well, having this access to, this type of life, living in New York, having, going to cool places, having friends. I'm like, I'm gonna be good. I wasn't. I felt empty and unhappy and unhealthy. So I think one, that it's like one thing for all, maybe for some, but not for everybody. And another one, that when you get there, you'll be happy. I think we know it, right? It's like, oh, when you get this amount of money, when you get this job, like we are sold this as a destination for happiness. It's like, no, you won't be unless you work on your inner landscape. That will not, the external will not change the internal. Maybe for like a little bit, but and then you'll be feel the same way.
Oh my God. You're gold. Oh, this was amazing. Change your inner landscape, guys. Oh, last one. No, second last one. But it was I already have so many more questions to ask you. But for that small little girl in Ukraine, in all the other parts of the world who are watching you right now, seeing what you've been through, what is that one beautiful channeled message you'd like to tell that girl
Mm,
who feels she wants more in life, or that little boy as well
mm,
that wants more in life and who feels so out of the place right now?
yeah, you are so loved. You are loved beyond measures. And you are perfect, whole, complete, and enough just the way you are. None of what's going on around you is about you. None of it. None of it. Trust what you feel in your heart. Trust that inner light. Trust those dreams. Know they're yours for a reason. Take next step toward them. Shine your light. Be you, uniquely, unapologetically, no matter what others are telling you or how they want you to be or what they want you to do. Do you. You're amazing. You have a big, big heart, and you came here with a beautiful, beautiful mission and purpose. And just being here is enough. Just being here is enough. There's nothing that you need to do to prove your worth or your value. Just you being here is incredibly valuable. You are such a light to this world. Such a light to this world. Hold it in your heart. Remember that. And remember how loved you are. Mm.
Oh, wow. I think this is the right place in this interview purely because I want people to tap into this magic and just be. But Margarita, thank you so much. I know I'm going to call you for the next episode to talk everything more about mysticism and all your experiences. But thank you for being here. Thank you for channeling this beautiful, potent message that I know it's going to hit home for so many people, just like it's hit home for me right now, because I could literally, I was closing my eyes and all I could see was me, my future, my past, my present, just
Mm.
smiling, knowing it is such a gift. And thank you for spreading your light and shining your gift so beautifully. It was an
Mm.
honor to interview you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any last words?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you for this incredible opportunity. I'm so honored and grateful to be here with you to share. Thank you. I'm just in so much awe and gratitude for you, for your light, for this platform to be able to share so openly, so vulnerably. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching and supporting Thrive Talks. If you found value in these conversations, hit that subscribe and like button and the notification bell to stay updated on more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep thriving and keep growing.